Hi, today's my concept is scope of financial management. So these are the points related to the scope of financial management. So before explaining the concept of financial management, if you are not subscribed my channel, please subscribe. Let me begin with the scope of financial management. The first point is estimating financial requirements. The term itself specifies it is an estimation or the plan about the financial requirements for the business. This, or in another word, financial requirements means it is a financing arrangements for the business. It may related to the dividend policy or capital structure policy, or may be related to inflow of fund, means how to raise the fund, or may be related to the outflow of fund. It means how to allocate the fund, the strategies to be adopted to raise the fund and to distribute the fund. So these are the concepts which generally comes under financial requirement. So it is a responsibility of financial management or a finance manager. So they have to make proper estimation about the financial requirements of the company. The next point is deciding capital structure. Capital structure is the combination of debt and equity which are used by the company to finance its overall operations and growth. Debt may come in the form of bond issues or in the form of loan, whereas equity may come in the form of common stock or preferred stock or in the form of retained earnings. The capital structure is extremely important, and capital structure decisions have a significant role in financial management. These are the points which will provide how the capital structure should be. It should minimum cost of capital, it should reduce risk, it should give required flexibility, it should provide required control to the owners, it should enable the company to have adequate finance, and it should maximize the value of the firm. So if these points considered at the time of creating the capital structure, then definitely company can follow or company can adopt a good capital structure, or these points will help the company to adopt or to create or to maintain a ideal capital structure. So this is another diagram which will provide information about what elements includes in capital structure, or what are the elements comes under capital structures. A major part of the capital structure is generally through equity shares, whereas next preference goes to the preference shares, the next part. Then comes debentures and other long-term loan. So this structure or this diagram will provide information about uh, how the ideal capital structure should be. So major part, more than 50% of the capital structure should come from equity shares. Then next importance is preference shares, then comes debentures or other long-term loan. So this is not the permanent, it's a one of the example for capital structure. The different companies follow different capital structure, so that is left to the finance manager of the company. They may adopt any type of capital structure. See here, retained earnings is not there, short term loans are not included, so that is left to the finance manager of the company. This is one example for how the capital structure should be, or example for an ideal capital structure. The next part of scope of finance is selecting the source of finance. The following are the factors which has to be considered while selecting a best source of finance which will meet the financial requirements of the company. The selection of source of finance should always based on the financial requirements, or should always based on their financial plan. Then what are the factors to be considered while selecting a source of finance or while selecting the best source of finance? The first point is the amount required, the fund required for the business. Then type of expenditure or purpose for which the capital is required, for which purpose the fund is raising. So that has to be considered, that expenditure as well as purpose for which the capital is required. Then the next factor is to be considered is the length of time for which the money is required. For how long the money is required, the fund is required, whether it is for short-term project or for long-term project. Then the size, status and ability of the business to borrow. Is it possible to borrow that much of fund for that particular business? So therefore the size, status and ability of the business to borrow the fund, to raise the fund, that is also important. Then the business current level of gearing, the current level of performance is also required. The business's level of resource and profits, that also one of the factor while raising the source of finance. Then the cost of the source of finance. So these are the factors which are to be considered while selecting best source of finance. And if these factors are considered, or by considering these factors, if finance manager can select one best source of finance. These are the five main sources of finance from commercial banks or indigenous bankers or through trade credit or installment credit or advances. The sources of finance, again, not these are the main sources of finance which provide the financial facilities, except that even the companies can raise the fund, or they can have the source of fund by issue of security. So that's about selecting the source of finance. The next point is selecting the pattern of investment. The selection of an investment pattern is related to use of funds. It is related to allocation of fund. The selection of investment pattern is related to the use of fund or related to distribution of fund. How the fund should be distributed, how the fund should be allocated to different sections of the company or to different department of the company or to different purposes of the company. Decisions has to be taken as to which assets are to be purchased. Decision has to be mainly the fund is allocated for the purpose of to meet different expenses of the company, and that the company has to decide which assets are to be purchased. So which one is more necessary for the development of the company or to fulfill the some task of the project or to meet the requirements of the projects. And fund will be spent first on fixed assets and then for working capital. First preference is for to buy the long-term assets, then the preference allocation of fund for the working capital. So this all depends on for which purpose the company raised the fund. So that is about selecting pattern of investment, and this is a point related to outflow of fund, means related to allocation of fund or use of fund. The next point is cash management. Cash management is the process of collecting and managing cash flows of the business. It is important for individuals as well as companies, and our study is related to companies, and it is one of the key components in case of company's financial stability, or the financial stability of the company is dependent on the cash management. So therefore it is called as a key components of financial stability. Whenever the cash flows or the process of collecting and managing the cash, if it is as per the company's plan, definitely the company will have the financial stability. There are many different cash management solutions for businesses, for the companies, which will help to obtain best return to the companies. best return out of cash management, best output from the cash management. So they get different solutions. So that's all about the cash management. The next point is profit management. Profit management means the manipulation of financial statements within the framework of accounting standards that may be for the benefit of the company or for the benefit of the opportunities. So it is the manipulation of financial statements for genuine purpose, manipulation of accounting data or financial statement within the framework of accounting standards, not out of accounting standard, and why there is a manipulation of financial statements mainly for the benefit of the company or to use the benefit of to get the benefit of the opportunities or to use the opportunity to the best way they can manipulate the financial statement. So that is called as a profit management. So but it should be within the framework of accounting standards. The purpose is to get some good benefit to the companies or to grab the opportunities which are available. So that's about the profit management. So profit is how to reduce the revenue and how to reduce the cost and how to increase the revenue, then definitely it is a profit will come. So profit management means cost reduction and revenue increase. So that's about the profit management. The next point is ensuring liquidity. One way to ensure liquidity is to maintain large cash balances or arrange necessary borrowing facilities, but neither approach results in optimal profitability. It means that how to ensure the liquidity. The liquidity can be ensured by maintaining the large cash balances. If a company have good or sound cash balances, it signifies that they have enough liquidity. Otherwise, arrange necessary borrowing facilities. So that signifies that the company have the sufficient liquidity. A company's liquidity is its ability to turn its assets into cash. Its liquidity means what is a company's liquidity? It's a company's ability to turn its assets into cash. How immediately the company can turn their assets into cash, so that signifies their liquidity. So that's about ensuring liquidity. The next point is meeting statutory requirements. The statutory requirements are those requirements which are applicable by virtue of law enacted by the government. These are enacted by passing the law in the legislative assembly or parliament. So in case while they are managing the cash, in case of cash outflow or in case of cash inflow or in case of entire financial arrangements of the company, that should be within the framework of statutory requirement. They have to fulfill the statutory requirements. Then on the basis of the statutory requirement or on the basis of the corporate governance, they have to make the financial arrangement or their financial plan or requirements can be fulfilled by using the statutory. Even by fulfilling the statutory requirements, they can make success in case of financial management. So that's called as a meeting statutory requirements, means they have to go through the corporate governance or they have to go through the legal provisions which are applicable for their business or for their company while they are raising the fund or at the time of allocation of fund. So that's about meeting statutory requirements. The next point is generation and mobilization of resources. The resource mobilization is all the means that an organization should acquire to implement its action plan. It goes beyond the fundraising. It entails obtaining various resources from a multitude of partners or by different means or mechanism or means which make it possible to obtain resources directly. So that's about the generation and mobilization of resources which are beyond the fundraising, and which will help the companies to raise the fund directly. So that is about generation and mobilization of resources, not financial resources. The other mechanism, other means which will help the companies to raise the fund directly, but not related to fundraising, but not generation and mobilization of financial resources. So that is about generation and mobilization of resources. So these are the points related to the scope of financial management. So that's all about today's class. If you are not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. Thank you. Thank you very much.